I have a quick question about the round 3 of the presentations.
Uh-huh.
Is there going to be a test question?
Yeah, we'll create some sort of
Okay.
a, hey, tell me something you learned sort of thing.
Sounds good.
Okay, I've got 3 slides that I want to cover with you as far as deviant behavior, thinking about deviant behavior from a sociological point of view. And then, do you remember I had each one of you pick a criminal thing, and you were supposed to kind of look at it and think about, well, what would the appropriate punishment be? Do you remember that? If not, I'll show you again, and then whatever time is remaining. So let's fly through this stuff. So the definition that we're looking at right now is something called formal social control. Formal social control, as opposed to something called informal social control, which I know this is hard to remember, but do you remember when you drew pictures? And then do you remember this thing? This is a form of informal social control. How do I get you to do what I want you to do? I give you an angry face, right? Or as you're talking to me, I keep walking away from you. You get the hint. That's informal social control. It's nonverbal. Informal social control is nonverbal methods of getting you to do what I want you to do. That's informal. It's not written down anywhere. If you want him to stop bugging you, do this. It's just sort of what society does. It's what culture does. And different cultures do it different ways. It's kind of interesting. There are some cultures, here's an example. Have any of you had parents that have ever done this? Look at me when I'm talking to you. Don't look down, look at me. Eye contact is a sign of respect. But then there are other cultures where eye contact is an insult. You do not look your superiors in the eye. You look down and you look sad. Don't look at me when I'm talking to you. Look at the ground. Grovel, grovel. By the way, that comes from biology. Did you know that when you stare your dog eye to eye, your dog thinks you're challenging him? If it's a male, that's right. They think you're challenging him. And so when you're raising a puppy, what you're supposed to do is stare at it until it looks away. And then what you're supposed to do is flip it on its back, put your mouth on its neck, and just start growling. Arr! No, don't bite, but just growl. Because dog biology dictates the way they kill their prey is they grab it by the neck and check, right? And so what you're doing is saying to puppy, I could kill you, but I will allow you to live, but I'm the boss, me.
Remember this act of mercy.
That's right. Remember this act of mercy. I am the top dog in this herd. You're also supposed to eat dog food while your puppy's eating dog food. And then when it growls, stare at it and flip it over and growl so that it learns, oh, this isn't my dog food, it's our dog food. And then they won't bite your 3-year-old when it goes over to pet the puppy when it's eating. You don't do that, it'll be eating a lawsuit. Okay. That is all informal social control. This is formal social control. Formal social control is how society gets you to behave a certain way. The most popular method is punishment. Punishment is a form of formal social control. This lovely chart is the incarceration chart per 100,000 people. Currently, we are number 1. Another thing we're number 1 at. We have more people in prison than anybody. Not only do we have more people in prison total, we have more people in prison per capita. What that means is this. If you looked at the total number of the prison population, our prison population is number 1. Eat it, China. But if you broke it down by population per 100,000 people, we are also number 1. If there was a country of 200,000 people, and our country, which is 350 million people, and they had 50,000 people, or so a country of 200,000 people, and they had 50,000 people in prisons, and we are a nation of 350 million people, and we had 100,000 people in our prisons. So we, a nation of 350 million, and we have 100,000 people in prison. Okay, So total population, and what's above it is the prison population. And then you have another nation of 50,000 people, but their total population is 200,000, right? Per capita, who has more people in prison? There's option A, and there's option B. Per capita. Now, who has more in prison total?
We do.
We. 100,000 is more than 50,000. So per capita.
Right.
What does per capita mean? Per capita means percentage-wise.
Oh.
Percentage-wise. Who has more? They do. My God, 1 out of 4. Holy crap. That's a lot. Our percentage is, well, this percentage is extremely low. Okay. Can you figure out the percent? For every 100,000 people in the United States, let's just round it up and say it's 800. For every 100,000 people, 800 are in prison right now. What percent is that? About. What is our prison percentage? About, ballpark. This is easier than you think. Let's just make it 1,000. There's 1,000 people in prison. For every 100,000 people, 1,000 are in prison.
1/10. Right? No.
That would make it 10,000.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
1%, right? If there are 100 people in prison for every 100,000 people in the population, get rid of a zero, get rid of a zero, get rid of a zero, get rid of a zero. 1,000. 1,000 is 0.1%. 0.1% of the American population is in prison. Now you might think, oh, not so bad, but it's more than anybody else. We have a higher prison population than any other nation, not only total, but per capita. Okay? So some people might be thinking, well, yeah, do you know there's a way of eliminating all crime in the United States? I could do it tomorrow. If they name me dictator for a day. Dictator for a day. In other words, I could do whatever I want. I could eliminate crime. I could make the US crime rate 0. Yeah. Kill everybody. That's one way to do it. Legalize everything.
Anarchy.
No more crime.
What?
Now you might think that's ridiculous, but there is a movement that is starting to decriminalize drug use, right? That our prisons are swelling with people that buy, sell, use illegal drugs. And the approach from 40 years ago was treat it as a crime, imprison them, punish them. Today it's switching toward treatment. It's not a crime, it's a disease. These people shouldn't be punished, they need to be helped. Make them go to their doctor and get a prescribed safe amount of drug. Legalize it, and then control it. That's what they did with alcohol, right? For a while, you know about prohibition. For a while, it was illegal. And you know what happened to the crime rate? Whoosh. So then they said, well, let's legalize it. Crime rate went down, and then let's control it. Let's tax it. Let's make money off it. Yes, dear.
Portugal legalized all drugs and then their drug problem went away.
Well, went away. Very good.
Yeah,
Okay.
they got better.
Your face. Okay, our next term, again, we're going to go over 3 slides today. This is slide number 2, is something called institutional enemy, and that word is theory. Institutional enemy theory. Let me ask this. Have any of you ever had this feeling? I bet you have. The feeling of you are alone in a crowd. You're alone. Any of you have that feeling? Worst day of my life. Well, second worst day of my life. Worst day of my life, I was there when Grandma died. I happened to be there. She died right in front of me. That was sad. Second worst day of my life, the day my parents dropped me off at college. Oh my God. I knew nobody. And there they are driving away. And I wanted to get back in the car and drive home and suck on my thumb and grab a teddy bear and eat popcorn and eat ice cream. It was awful. I was alone. I knew nobody. My angel saved me, right? I mean, I was standing there. I remember this. I was just standing there like, I want to go home. I want to go home. And then this girl comes with a crowd behind her saying, hey, we're going to a show. It was a hypnotist. Walk up. Yeah, can I marry you? And it was great. She saved me. They have these programs at colleges. So any of you that are off to college someday, they have these freshman orientation programs to make you feel welcome. And I was 100% in love with this person. I would have married her. If she had proposed, I would have said, yep. And I'm going to father your children. And we're going to, yep. And I became that person the next year. It's so fun to make people who feel alone feel welcome. So someday, right, sign up for that program. Make others feel welcome so that they don't experience what I experienced. That feel. Oh, any of you ever had that feeling? You're alone in a crowd. Anyone want to share? Like, what was the situation?
Like first day of junior kindergarten.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely. It's terrible, isn't it?
The first school experience ever. It's just like, I don't know anybody.
Right. And doesn't it seem like they all know each other?
Yeah.
Here I am, and they're, oh, look how much fun they're all having. But me. And I will share this little bit of wisdom for you. It's not that way. They're all alone. They all feel that way. It just seems that way. Right? Anyone else? Are any of you new to the Somerset School District? Relatively? Like basically since high school? Have you experienced that kind of feeling? Like, sorry? Right in the beginning. Okay. Has it gotten better? Yeah. Okay, good. You, yeah, camps, athletic camps or Bible camps or something like that. It just, there you are, you show up and your parents drive away and they're going to have the time of their lives and here you are. Right? And you just feel alone. That feeling is called enemy. Okay? They've done studies and suicide rates go up, drug use goes up, alcohol use goes up when you have this feeling. You don't like the feeling, so what do? You take steps to eliminate the feeling. That's why people use drugs. That's why people drink alcohol. That's why people engage in odd behaviors. It's so that they can have the temporary high and get rid of the bad feeling. Okay. So I'm going to give you some examples of something like this. You all know or have heard of something called the American Dream. The American Dream, right? 3-car garage, 2.5 kids, a dog, theater, nice entry. Better what? Right? Beautiful wife, rich husband, and 3 cars, and a family trip every year, and HBO, and the American Dream, the financial success. Okay? The question is, how do you get there? How do you achieve financial success? So the American Dream is success. Financial success means you have to get rich. Well, what if I steal? What if I commit crimes to get rich? Am I achieving the American Dream? Sure I am. Right? Think about criminals, drug dealers. They want to get rich just as much as any of you want to make money. The goal is the same. It's just the way you achieve that goal might differ slightly. The drug dealer is a businessman, just like the guy who sells you used cars. They both want financial success. It's just that this person sells something that's legal, this person sells something that's illegal. So enemy is the separation between a perfectly legitimate goal and the way you achieve that goal. You are now experiencing enemy. Again, the definition of enemy, here it is there's a divide between a goal and the way to achieve that goal. That is institutional enemy. Or how about this? Schools. I'm sure no one in here has ever done this, but let's just take a shot with the rest of the school. Nobody in here, I'm sure, has ever cheated. No one, not in this room, no. What we have here are 15 honorable students. But in the rest of the building, there might be people who cheat once in a while. Now, why do they do that? Why? I'm serious. Why? Why do people cheat? Yes?
They're not confident in their ability. They didn't study.
What do they want?
To succeed.
Right. They want the A, right? So that you see, there's a what schools are trying to do is get you to say it's not about the A. It's about you learning the material. Who cares about the A? But I'm a realist and you are students and you need that A. because you need that GPA, because you need that scholarship so you can go to school, right? So schools are pressured to prepare you for economic success, and you cheat. But guess what? Here's something that'll blow your mind. Did you know schools cheat? Teachers cheat? About 5-10 years ago, a bunch of teachers in Atlanta, Georgia were arrested because they, on a Friday, took a bunch of your standardized tests, your ACT stuff, or your Forward or your Aspire or whatever, took it home that weekend and changed the student answers. Made them better. Because then the school would get a better report. Did you know the school gets a report card? The school gets a report card from the state of Wisconsin. And you getting a better score on the Forward and the Aspire and the ACT gives the school a better report card. It is in my interest that you do well on the ACT. The teachers in Atlanta went a little bit too far and they cheated. The school cheated. That's enemy. Enemy is a separation between a perfectly legitimate goal and the way you achieve that goal. So schools will cheat, right? Cheating, you cheating, schools cheating. How about athletics? Right? The goal of the athlete is to make the team or to win the game. Can you give me an example of enemy as far as athletics? Again, the goal is legit. The way to achieve that goal is not legit. Yes?
Steroids.
Very good. Steroids, right? You're cheating. You're taking an illegal drug to achieve a perfectly acceptable goal. Okay, so athletics, you're cheating. This is big at college basketball right now. So let's see, which school's in trouble? UCLA, I think, is in trouble. So their coach, I'm not sure if it's UCLA, but there are schools out there that will bribe athletes to come to their school with wonderful shoes, cash, to bribe them to come to my school and not that school, so that now you're going to play with me for the next 4 years or 2 years, right? Well, you can't do that. Or have any of you been following what's been going on as far as rich people paying that person to pretend you're that person, and you walk in and take your test on the ACT because you're smart? And they got caught, right? You understand? You send somebody else to pretend they're you to take the ACT, so you get a good score so you can get into Harvard, right? Now, you might ask another question. Why are you not from? You might ask, well, isn't that student going to struggle at Harvard because they're not academically qualified enough to have gotten into Harvard? So won't they struggle in Harvard? It's a good question, right? I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing to study. Okay. Any questions about what enemy is? Institutional enemy is a separation between a perfectly acceptable goal and the way you achieve that goal. Okay? Question? No? Don't worry about it. Last slide, and then we're going to shift gears to those 4 criminal things. Why did they burn witches? So we're talking about Salem, Massachusetts, mid-1600s. They burned witches. Well, I'll take that back. No, they didn't. They did not burn witches. They burned people that they accused of being witches. I don't know if this is news to you, but there are no such thing as witches. Why did they do that? What? They did. They drowned them. You're correct.
And threw them off cliffs.
Threw them off cliffs. I'm so glad we know the methods of execution. My question, though, is why did they do that? There's no such thing. Why did they burn people and crush them and drown them and push them off cliffs with a broom? And when they flew away, it's like, get back here. You're in trouble, Missy. When they drowned them, and if they came up back alive, gotcha. Yes?
Didn't it have to do with their religion? They thought the witches were with the devil or something, so they wanted to get rid of
Let's try and look at it from a sociological point of view, though. Why execute witches? Yes?
Weren't they afraid of the people that would get them from different views?
Very good. All right, we're getting somewhere. Yep, go ahead.
They needed something to blame, like if their crops went bad, it couldn't have been like
Very
the natural
good.
world's fault. They had to blame it on someone.
Very good.
Throw them off a cliff. If they fly away, they're the
accurate,
cause.
right? Any culture needs to be able to explain why X happened. They have to be able to explain why this happened. The people that lived in Massachusetts in the 1600s were starving. They kept raising things like cotton, and that made for sucky dinners. What's for dinner tonight? Cotton. Cotton. What's tomorrow? Tobacco. Tobacco. Right? These people grew cash crops. They were so stupid that they didn't figure out maybe we should grow food. How about that? Food. And the natives who helped them a lot, I know the stories that you hear are that the natives kept wiping them out. Okay, let's just chill for a moment. Mostly it was the natives helping these pathetic people who didn't even realize maybe you should grow corn. And so they kept giving them food, right? And sometimes it'd be like, you're an idiot, let's just kill them. All right, so anyway, they had to explain why this kept happening to them. I mean, they were God-fearing people, they were good people, they prayed to God, and God kept doing things like making their crops bad and wiping them out with famine. Why is this happening? Witches. It's witches. It's the same thing Hitler did. How come we lost World War I? Jews. It's the Jews. It's gotta be the Jews. It's gotta be the witches. It's the same thing. And what does this have to do with ways of controlling behavior? Because if you're a witch, we're gonna burn you. You'll decide not to be a witch anymore. If you're a Jew, you'll decide not to be a Jew anymore. Now, you might think, how can you decide not to be a Jew? Aren't you just a Jew? Good question, right? You can't decide, I'm not white anymore. Sorry, you are. You're white. You're black, you're Indian, whatever. You can't help that, all right? So my point here is that this was a way that a society controlled their population. It's a way of controlling behavior. Why do they imprison you? To control your behavior. Why do they fine you? To control your behavior. Why, when you're caught cheating, are you punished? To control your behavior. It's all a way of controlling your behavior. This is all of this. Fines, burning witches, prison, execution is all an example of formal social control. Any punishment is an example of formal social control. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so she just asked, is there any such thing as positive formal social control? Can you think of any? So again, let's think about what's the difference between informal and formal. Informal is just behavior that's just sort of been evolved on its own organically. Formal is when it's kind of written down. This is what is going to happen. How are you incentivized to behave appropriately formally? Let's say in this building. Do you get any rewards for doing the right thing? And I'm not talking about the pat on the back or the smile of the teacher or way to go. Sure there are. You get them twice a year, kind of 4 times a year, but not really, really twice. Well, that's true. You're right. They're mailed to you.
Report cards.
Yeah, grades. Grades are formal social control. You want to get that grade where it's 2 things at the bottom and 1 at the top and there's a line across? You want that symbol? Ooh, that symbol. Look at that symbol. It's 3 lines. You, some of you who do this, you work really hard so that you get a piece of paper with a line and another line and another line. And if you don't work so hard, you get a line and then a curvy line and then another curvy line. And if you don't even work that hard, you just get 1 curvy line. And if you're a little bit lazier, you get a line and then another curvy line. And if you really don't do anything, you get 3 lines. Right? And an alien would land here and say, okay, if you work really hard, you get 3 lines. But if you don't work at all, you get 3 lines. What's the difference? It's 3 lines. Yeah, that's a good point. Right? Grades are incentivized formal social control. And yes? Any other way that we get you to behave a certain way? How many of you are students of the month? Tomorrow. It's the breakfast. Did anyone in here win it? Have any of you ever won it? You've never won student of the month?
Yes.
You have.
Mhm.
You have. You've never won student of the month?
In middle school, not.
Okay, counting middle school. Student of the month. That's a way of getting you to behave a certain way. If you are really good, we'll give you food. There you go. Food. Yes.
And then when they were to Osceola, there was a point where they would give you these little cheap-in bucks or whatever.
Or you can buy things.
How you doing?
Yeah, we used to have that here too. Spartan bucks. Not at the high school, but at the middle school. Spartan bucks. You can buy things.
There's an auction at the end of the year.
Auction. Yep, you got it. Right.
Still have that.
That's a way of getting you to behave a certain way.
I got this really cool globe that had like this Tesla coil in it, and you touch the glass, the electricity would arc to where your finger is, and I still have that.
Is it the greatest thing you've ever acquired?
It is. It was totally worth my entire 5th grade.
Exactly. Very good. Right. Let's take a look at this. Okay, I numbered you already, but you can, even if you didn't do this at all, that's okay. I just want you to relook at your situation. Okay, give you a minute. Reread your situation. How many of you were not here? You do not know what we are doing right now. Okay, just pick one of the 4 squares.
Said 500 grams is half a pound.
Yes, 500 grams is about half a pound. So 10 grams would be not much at all, right? All right. So I'm gonna leave this up to you. Would you rather do this now? And then tomorrow, by and large, you get the hour to just sort of work on various things? Or would you rather me give you the rest of the hour today, so about 25 minutes, and then we do this for part of the hour tomorrow, and then you get the remainder for work time? In other words, do you want to split your work time into 2, part of today, part of tomorrow? Or do you want to just do this now and then get almost all of tomorrow?
Just do this now.
Do it now.
Maybe you say, let's do it. Shouldn't take it. Okay, fine. All right, I will read it. And then I would like to hear from those of you who read this one. What do you think the appropriate punishment should be? And then I'm going to have everybody predict what do you think actually the punishment was. And then I'll show you what the punishment actually was. Okay, so we've got this Nathaniel guy. He's 12 years old. He's convicted of murder. That's like exponentially worse.
Wait, was that just a typo or?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if it was an actual like
It's a typo.
legal statement.
It says here, psychologists during his trial, so we already have the trial, point out that he has the mind of a 6-year-old. Does that matter? Does his age matter? He's 12. The fact that mentally he's not even 12, he's 6. At 6, do you even understand right from wrong? When you're 6, you think the high school team could take on the Packers. That's what an idiot you are when you're 6. Okay. Does it matter that this isn't his first rodeo? Right? He's been arrested before. This guy he's 12 going on 30. You know what I mean? So, those of you who read this one, what do you think? So he's already been convicted. The question is not whether he did it or not. The question is, how should he be punished? What do you think should happen? Go ahead, Ben.
He should be, you should definitely get like jail time,
Jesse, how much?
but not life sentence because it's
So
only
12. Okay.
So like,
Give me a year. Number of months, excuse me. Think about it.
like 10 maybe.
Wow. I knew it was you. Right now? All right, bye. You know where you're going? Yeah.
I'd say like maybe 10.
10 years. Okay. What do you think?
Intensive therapy and house arrest.
intensive therapy. This guy needs help. Good. That can happen. Yeah, good.
I do intensive therapy and then jail time.
Intensive therapy first, then jail time.
Correct. 'Cause
Do you
he
know that
still
they
murdered.
actually do that? They'll arrest someone, and then the defense attorney will be able to successfully prove, Your Honor, he does not understand. So then they'll say, okay, fine, let's heal him. Then they'll get to a point where they'll basically ask, like, do you understand? Then they put him on trial. Okay, you get it now. Now you're going to be held accountable for your
Yeah,
actions.
he murdered someone, right? So after he gets help, because if he's 6 years old, when he finally understands,
That's interesting. That means that you're criminalizing his behavior for something he did not understand when he did it.
but if you don't understand that you're actually killing someone, shouldn't you still be punished for that?
I don't know. What do you think?
Yes.
If you do not understand the importance of what you're doing, should you be held accountable?
I think you should be
You think so?
after you get help to understand it. You're like, oh yeah. And regardless of what you feel about that afterwards, I think you should.
Let's create a mythical universe.
Okay.
We're creating a mythical universe. You murder him, and then an alien lands on Earth and makes you a baby. You are now a baby, and then years go by and you grow up again, and then they discover it was you that did it. So they arrest you. Should you be punished?
Well, okay. This is a mythical universe.
Uh-huh. Did you do it?
That's a difficult question. I guess I would say
I have another way of phrasing the same question, right? They get Hitler before he commits suicide. No, sorry. They show up in Hitler's bunker just after he shoots himself in the head. He's dead. But a scientist takes some DNA, puts it in a petri dish. They regrow Hitler. They let him grow to about 20, then they arrest him. And Adolf's like, I didn't do anything. Yeah, you did. You
but
killed the Jews.
that wouldn't.
But that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Okay, fair enough. But just because it was Hitler's DNA doesn't mean that it's the same Hitler, right? Just because. Well,
Makes as much sense as arresting your twin. You know, any of you twins? You're a twin. Are you like identical twins? You're identical twins. So you steal something, we'll just arrest your sister. You have the same DNA? Does that make sense?
I mean, I guess, but I guess the
It
sort of
does?
thing-
It makes sense to arrest her sister?
No. I'm just what I'm trying to understand is, I guess Hitler's, like, if Hitler had a kid, his kid could have his DNA, right?
But would also have her DNA, so it wouldn't quite be Hitler.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on what he should get as punishment? So I'm hearing 10 years intensive psychological treatment, and then in-house arrest, intense psychological treatment, teach him that he knows he did wrong, then arrest him.
I think he's too young to go to jail. He's only 12 with the mind of a
Go ahead.
6-year-old.
I'm gonna assume they partially held the parents responsible.
Hold the parents responsible. Very good. All right.
Not entirely.
Are your parents responsible for your behavior when you're not 18? Is it
Yeah.
your parents' fault?
Well, I mean, legally, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I can only speak to examples of truancy, right? If you miss school when you're 15 years old, the state holds your parents accountable. Absolutely. If you get in an accident and you take your car and you drive into some neighbor's house, who gets the bill? Your parents. Your parents get the bill. Okay, what do you think happened? What do you think the punishment was? I'll put the over-under at 10. How many of you think he got way more? He got more than 10. Over 10. It's either going to be over 10 or under 10. How many of you think over 10? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many think under 10? Okay. It was 10.
Yeah.
None of you are right.
I was right.
Less
I
than
said
or greater
10.
You
than or equal to?
So this happened in 1987. He was released in 1997, and then he was rearrested again when he was 22 years old. This guy's a lifer. He's a lifer. Okay, let's move on. So we've got Harold. He's 25. He's caught with 10 grams of crack cocaine. I'm just going to differentiate that with John here, who's caught with 500 grams of powder cocaine. So this guy was caught with a much smaller dose of a form of cocaine called crack, which is crystallized. This guy was caught with 500 grams of a larger amount of a different form of cocaine, which is powder. So I guess the good question to ask here is, what is more potent? 10 grams of that form or 500 grams of that form? And I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to this. Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
I don't know. I just have a different question. So what's the difference between possession with intent to sell and possession and intent to traffic?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
So let's go back to Harold, and let's kind of look at these two at the same time. Okay. Harold, 25. John, 22. Any significant difference there? No. Okay. 10 grams, 500 grams. Any significant difference there? Certainly. Crack, powder. Any significant difference there? I guess I don't really know the answer to that. I don't know if 10 grams of crack is worse than 500 grams of powder. I don't know the answer. Okay, let's keep going. Possession and intent to traffic, which means sell. Possession with intent to sell. No difference there. Black, white. Let me ask this two ways. Should there be a difference? Should that matter?
No.
Shouldn't. Does it? Sometimes it is. Yep. What do you think the punishment should be here? And then what do you think actually the punishment was? Okay.
A couple months in jail.
2 months, right? Okay. He's got 10 grams of crack. He possesses it and he intends to deal it. Go ahead.
House arrest?
House arrest. Okay.
And it's fine.
They're fine. Okay. Only 10 grams. Only a fine.
But it depends on how potent that little is.
It's true.
'Cause
10
like-
grams though, I mean, that's 1/50th. I mean, to argue that this is worse than this, you'd have to find evidence that this is 50 times worse. And again, I don't know. Okay. How about John? 500 grams. Again, possession and intent to sell. What do you think? So I'm hearing basically a fine, maybe a couple months, pretty minor. What about John? Jail time?
I mean,
Plus it's intent to sell. so-
Intent to sell? Yep.
he's
He's a dealer. Yep.
he's no Scarface, but it's still half a pound. It's
Anybody else?
pretty decent amount.
Would we all agree that this person should definitely have a larger consequence than this person?
I would say yes.
Even if we don't
What do you
know.
think happened?
I think the opposite happened.
This is real. 10 years plus 2 months for Harold with 10 grams of crack. 7 years for John with 500 grams of powder. And I pretended I didn't know the difference. Crack cocaine is a little bit more potent, but not 50 times more potent. What's going on here?
Well, plus one guy has intent to sell. This guy should.
So he does. So does he.
Oh,
Travis means the same. Okay. Just the number of clients, right? This guy can sell to way more people, and yet he was punished less. I'm hinting. Now, I'm not saying that this is definitely true, but I'm hinting at the charge that some people make that our criminal justice system punishes certain groups more than others. I'm not saying that this is fact. I am saying that there seems to be some evidence to suggest that, well, it seems to be true. And here's an example. This law, by the way, there has now been, since the making of this slide, there has been a law correcting this very issue under the Trump administration. Trump signed it. This is one of the few things where Democrats and Republicans kind of both agree this is a good law. The law that kind of fixed this dilemma that existed. Made it fairer.
Okay.
If you do this, this is your punishment. The end.
Okay, so
This-
they just fleshed out the rules a little more.
Flushed out. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, very good. All right, let's learn about Bernie here. So Bernie Madoff, convicted of theft. He created an elaborate scheme known as a pyramid scheme. Have you ever heard of pyramid schemes? Okay. He got people to give him money that he actually thought that he was putting in the stock market. He actually kept the money himself, spent it, and then to make people think that he was investing it, he paid some people a little bit of money. He ended up stealing $65 billion. It is the largest triangle pyramid scheme in American history. Okay? And he gets caught. This is only about 20 years ago.
Oh wow.
No, this was like 12.
Okay. Well, fine. What do you think the punishment should be? Good.
20 plus years.
20 plus? Okay. You think it's serious? No drugs involved.
He's got, he
Just-
ended up
just
losing
money.
However many lives. Well,
He did, right? I mean, he had pension programs of companies. These were people that put money away for their retirement, and it's gone. Which brings up another question. What he did with the money was give it to his wife. He gave it to his wife. His wife then spent the money on houses, cars, whatever. And then he got caught. You know what she said? I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. Why should I have to pay? Why should I have to give up what I bought? I did not know about it. Right? You're driving down the road. You see a van, and inside the van is a bunch of movies. So you buy the movies, right? The guy's selling to you, I don't know, a buck per DVD, right? And then you drive away. The cops pull you over and say, that's stolen material. And what do you say? I didn't know that. I just bought it from some guy. Right? Are you guilty of anything? Are you guilty of a crime? It's gray. It's a bit gray because are you an idiot? You bought DVDs from some guy in a van on the side of the road. Do you think he's opening up a little Target?
no.
Do you think he's got a license to operate from his van? Right? You're a moron if you think this is legit. What a deal. Yes.
But then, I guess for both sides, wouldn't there be some fault to the people who were gullible enough to fall into the pyramid scheme? Because I understand that
Yeah,
for
maybe.
that much money, that must have been a really, really good. I'm not saying that like they're completely
He was
stupid,
very good at it. Yep.
but at some level, there has to be some fault to the people who bought into it.
All right.
And I
So
get
that's called let the buyer beware. It is actually an idea that exists in our society. When you buy something, a product that you see on TV, and it advertises that, man, you buy this product, you put it in your milk, you will double your size in a month. And you buy it and it doesn't work, you're a moron. Or you watch the commercial and it's the guy with the beard, he cracks it open and suddenly girls in scantily clad bikinis show up. So you think, sweet. So you go and you buy the beer and you open it up and you think, well, where are the girls? So you sue the company. Right? By the way, that's true. That happened.
Did he win?
What do you think?
I honestly.
Is that false advertising?
I guess it depends on the really fast person they have at the end of the commercial.
No, the judge threw it out.
Oh, okay.
Commercials are where you kind of allow to stretch. You can stretch, right? You buy Red Bull, right? And then you go up to the cliff and then you jump and then you fall to your death.
Red Bull gives
Can
you
the
wings.
company, can the family of you sue Red Bull?
No,
It's
because
false
in the
advertising.
commercials, it tells you it doesn't actually give you wings in the corner.
Yeah, even if they didn't though.
And that
Let's say they
happened.
didn't do that. Would they be liable?
No.
No. You have to have some semblance of brains when you're buying a product, right? Let the buyer beware. What do you think? I'll put the over under at 20. 20 years.
Probably have to go liquidate like whatever assets he can, pay back what he can, and probably get like life in prison.
Life. So you're definitely over. All right.
$65 billion is
A lot of money.
Um,
Anyone else? Over?
I'd
20?
go
Over?
I'm gonna say under, just
Under?
benefit of the doubt, I guess. Also, before we reveal, did you ever hear about that article? Who this guy sent bills to like Google and Microsoft, and they just paid him, and he got like $22 million because they just paid the bills he sent them.
Wow.
He got arrested for it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I know.
I heard about the guy who some people are paid by the hour. And so you work for a company that pays you by the hour, but sometimes you work for a fraction of an hour. And so you end up getting a check for, let's just keep it simple, $100.50 and a half cent, right? Because you worked that amount, you're paid that much per hour, but because you worked an hour and then a couple minutes, you end up getting paid a half cent. Well, there's no such thing as a half cent. So this one guy who worked for a company created a program where all of the half cents were pooled into one account, paid to him. And the company didn't even miss it because there's no such thing as a half cent.
How much do you make?
Oh, he was in the millions. I mean, it took a while. And then they started noticing, like, this isn't adding up. So they kind of figured out, and they caught Jimmy. Brilliant. Okay. 150 years.
Oh wow.
And a payment back of 17.9 billion, which is short almost $50 billion. But I mean, that money's gone, right? His wife took it and bought a car. Well, when you reconfiscate the car, you're never going to get back the amount you paid for it. You buy a car for $10,000. The moment you drive it off a lot, it is not worth $10,000 anymore, right? You've already lost that much equity. So they reconfiscated everything and sold it, and they made a grand total of 17.9 billion. So people lost their money.
How do you spend $50 billion
Amazing,
on
right?
what?
150 years. Does that mean after he dies, they're just going to let him rot in the prison cell for another 80, 90 years? And the answer is no. When you're sentenced to life in prison, you're not actually sentenced to life in prison.
It's like 25 years, right?
Yeah, right. They have these things called parole. What the judge did here was make sure that there was no parole at all. You will die in there, is what the judge was saying here, right? He's not actually going to be in there for 150 years. Okay, very good. Oh my God, I left you no time at all. Well, I guess you guys agree to that. So tomorrow, in essence, I will show you, I think, one slide, and then you'll have the hour to do your fourth article summary, get ready for your race or your crime presentation. Many of you haven't done your extremist test yet. I think like most of you haven't. That's crazy.
Can you check if I'm pretty sure I did it.
You can check it yourself. Go on to Kia. When you go on to Kia, it'll show you what you've done. While you're doing that, I will retrieve who's done these things. According to my records, these people have not done the extremist test yet. Cade or Jeffrey or Peter or Joe or Thomas or Cora or Bailey or Allison or Jasmine have not done the extremist test, which is okay. Good. So, Andrew, you did it. And you did well.
Yeah.
And you got an A.
Wait, what did I get?
You have 28 out of 30. Wait. Everyone know what I'm talking about? Extremist test. So, yeah, AJ, you did it. You have 30 out of 30. Ridley, 30 out of 30. Abby, 28 out of 30. Kai, 30 out of 30. Yeah, these are good scores. Must have been easy.
Answers one I got wrong.
I got
Yeah.
I have a quick question just about the World in Conflict class because I'm taking it next year. So is that class formatted any similar to this where we come in, slides, notes, and then just sort of like projects kind of scattered throughout?
No, I'd say it's a little different.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering because I like the format of this class.
Wow, you're a sweetheart.
Oh yeah, what was that other stuff that you went through on the slides before I came in? About
Watch the video.
Russia. Oh, geez.
I love that video.
Actually watching videos for fun.
See?
If you say some really good jokes,
Write them down.
it's fun.
I have to turn this off.